Straight Politicking on all you fools out there. And I'm sitting here with Spider Loc, the most easty, and Munchie B, the mayor. And Munchie B, I heard you mention this on your Rich at Heart. You had a very successful, peaceful, positive hood day.
Sure did.
And you know what the police always say about hood days, right? I've heard police testify about hood days. They're bad. They're bad things. But talk briefly about how it went.
Oh, it went cool. We had hoods blend that ain't blended in a long time. Cause back when I was younger, we used to with the non-Deuce bishops, non-Deuce Inglewood families, we used to like do our thing together. But due to allies, we tight with the Swans and the Bebops and the Bishops, tight as they is. Once the Swans and the Bebops wasn't really getting along no more, we just didn't do our thing with the Bishops no more. But this year, homies hollered beforehand, you know what I'm saying? Then we decided to run it back again, like, you know what I'm saying, the homies and the Bishops. So we did it, and there was people there that ain't seen each other in years or crossed paths on a negative note, you know what I'm saying? Everybody chopped it up. The females was out, it was shit. It was a success. It wasn't, you know what I'm saying?
Hey, man, there's a lot of unity in the streets of L.A. in the last, couple months. A lot of Crip unity, a lot of blood unity, a lot of street unity. Unfortunately, I don't think people are talking about it at the level they need to be talking about it. Right, Spider?
Well, I've seen a lot of different opposing opinions, so I guess can't expect everybody to be in agreement.
I think they do the groundwork first, then take it to the internet, you know what I'm saying? In case things don't go through, and then it ain't really outsiders' business, and it's better to get the business done first, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think people need to be a little patient or maybe not so sensitive when they hear, like, we're talking about it right now. We're talking about Crip unity. We're talking about blood unity. And I don't see how there's anything negative about talking about our opinions on unity. I've worked on truces. I've been at the table. I've seen the struggles. I know the challenges. And why can't I speak on that?
Well, I feel like, excuse me, this has been, like you say, a large range of conversation. But in particular, it seemed like certain individuals took offense to certain things that I said in relation to the Crips in Compton. And, that was shocking, surprising, astonishing, for lack of better words. But, I don't understand why it would cause such irritation. And just to reiterate, not to clarify, because I was clear the first time, I was asked if I thought that the Compton Crips were currently in a mind frame to follow suit behind the Pirus in Compton and their expression of peace. And based on my understanding of the climate in Compton, my knowledge of things that take place, I said no. And I think there's no one upon the face of the earth that is familiar with the climate in Compton will be willing to place a wager against me opposing that stand. So I don't understand how it could offend anyone.
Well, I think that being pessimistic is probably offensive to some people because there's always an optimistic viewpoint on the same subject matter, right?
Well, I was asked by my co-host if I thought personally, and it was my time to express what I thought. And I know for a fact my thoughts are based on facts. It's not pessimism if it's reality. I have the most optimistic hope for the future of not only the streets of Compton, but Los Angeles, Long Beach, and the surrounding areas. But I'm not going to allow my optimism to cause me to make a statement that I know is not true.
Well, in April of 2019, I said on the Gangster Chronicles podcast that I envisioned the East Coasters and the Florences coming together 6 months before it ever happened. And people thought I was crazy for saying that.
I know you were present, so are you trying to take credit to some degree?
No, and when I said that...
That's comedy. I'm joking.
When I said that in April, I had no idea what was going... Nothing had even started. The very first conversations didn't start till August.
So what caused you to feel that way?
Being optimistic?
Yeah, being optimistic. And I even said a possible way on that podcast. I said a possible way to make this happen is for some philanthropist that cares about the streets of LA, that has a lot of money, and that cares about peace in the streets, could possibly donate some money to the Florences, because this has all started over money that was stolen, or dope that was stolen that was worth money. That's what it all started from. And then fast forward to August, and boom, they're having these conversations without any money involved.
Well, I just want to once again reiterate, I was asked if I thought the Compton Crips were currently ready to do exactly what we saw the Pirus do. And my answer was no, and I stand on that answer still.
Okay.
Hey, but even to a particular person that was mad at the conversation we had, was gonna come at Alex sideways, but like Alex, he like one of the most optimistic people I know when it comes to that type of conversation with the like the treaties and shit. You know what I'm saying? Because the two particular Piru hoods, I say never about, you be like never say never, and you got hope for it.
Well, I think that it's easier to bring two hoods together that used to really be tight, as opposed to two hoods that from their historical position have never been close. So when you get two hoods like Looters and the Mob that used to be like brothers,
Same thing.
that's something that is more attainable in my mind than something like maybe a Crip and a Blood set. Because the Crip and the Blood set, it's been war since day one.
Believe it or not, I had members from Gray Street calling me today, alerting me of the presence of 1-600 in their area, and just based on what they seen online, my name and his name, niggas from Gray Street asking me, was it okay for him to be over there at the Watch Towers? Of course, I didn't want my name attached to no type of bullshit, so of course, I ain't got nothing in that shit. Oh, whatever, I ain't got nothing to do with that. But who would imagine it would be some niggas from Gray Street calling me about 600 being at the Watch Towers, asking me if it's cool or not.
And you're saying that because there has been some tension between the Grapes and the East Coasters ever since 08, I believe.
Yes, and so when you talk about neighborhoods that used to be close having better action at mending their differences, that's just evidence toward that speaking point.
Now, the East Coasters and the Grapes haven't officially ended their thing, but it's been a lot lower conflict in the last, 5-6 years, right?
I'll just bring back the word that you used a moment ago. I am extremely optimistic about the potential for that shit to get back right.
Yeah.
It's not currently there yet.
I'm surprised that it's lasted as long as it did. 2008, and we're in 2024. What's that? 14 years. 14 years since that thing kicked off.
You say you surprised?
I'm surprised that within this 14 years there haven't been. Well, you know what? Let me take that back, because I do believe that there were some conversations at the Chuco's Justice Center in the last few years. I don't remember what year that was. But, I'm optimistic for that, because we all know how tight the East Coasters and the Grapes were before 2008.
There's still a lot of those relationships intact.
Yeah.
Not just the ones that I possess, with a lot of homies.
The fact that it's been going on as long as it's going on, that part wouldn't surprise me. But if it ain't been no talks, that's kind of surprising. Like some attempts, you know what I'm saying?
I don't know about anything official, but I am aware of conversations but it's just like what we about to talk. The older people are having one conversation, and the conversation kind of changed as you trickle down through the generations for the most part.
Hey, if this was the 1940s right now, and I told both of y'all that in the next year or two, the United States is about to drop 2 bombs on Japan that's going to annihilate 200,000 people from that population. And then if I said, and then within the next decade or so, Japan is going to forgive the United States and they're all going to be friends again. Would you believe that?
Yeah, because in history, they bomb each other, and then when they get back cool, they help them build their shit back up.
Yeah,
I
but
can't even put myself in the 40s mentality to even know how ridiculous that would have sounded beforehand.
But there are nations that don't, like Russia and the United States traditionally don't like each other. China and the United States traditionally don't like each other. There are certain countries that, Iran and the U.S. don't like each other. You drop 2 bombs on a country and you kill 200,000 people. You ain't supposed to like that country ever, right? I mean, ever. Japan and the United States are best friends again. So I always use that as an example. If this country had 2 bombs dropped on them, where almost 250,000 people died, and they figured out how to be cool again, then anybody could be cool again.
You said Japan and United States.
Yeah.
So was they friends beforehand? Like the example we used earlier.
Well, they were actually allied with Hitler and Italy, Mussolini. So it was Hitler, it was Germany, Italy, and Japan. They were like allies.
I'm saying, was America ever allies with?
Prior to World War II, I don't think there was no negative or positive. It was just two countries prior to World War II. There was no back before the 40s. Diplomacy was not the way we see it now. You know, where you're flying jets to different countries, presidents are meeting at the United Nations. I don't recall what the relationship was with Japan and the U.S. in, let's say, 1910. You know, I'd have to go back to the history books on that one.
Yeah, that's where the comparison get a little crack in the because you won't know if they was like, you know what I'm saying, like East Coast and Great, they was friends and partying together at one point. You know what I'm saying?
But we all know that Israel and the Arab countries that surround Israel, they hate each other probably more than anybody else on earth. And how long every president since I was a kid has been trying to bring peace to Palestine and Israel and the surrounding Arab nations, and every president pretty much has failed.
See, like you said, like Inglewood family and Rolling 60s, I could never see that being a thing. But you know, you could throw a spike strip and slow it down. You have people like that's, you know what I mean, that know each other and slow something down. But like other than that, I couldn't see it. But you got Hoover and 60s that was hanging out together back in their days before the divide. You know what I'm saying?
Came up where Main Streets was number one ops. And now they down there homies to the homies. Like, so I've seen that full circle transition.
How did that happen?
I believe it's when they get engaged in the war with the Hoovers, it kind of like switched the whole energy.
How you say that saying? A friend of my friend, or an op of my op is my friend, or something?
Enemy of my enemy is a friend of mine.
And that's all that was, in my opinion, with the Main Streets. You know what I'm saying? So when they went up with the Hovers, and you know what I mean, all the neighborhoods became their friends.
But also, we're seeing that conflict in at least Los Angeles is not really something that people are engaging in like they used to, because we live in a highly surveilled city. There's cameras everywhere. Even in our housing projects, there's cameras pretty much everywhere. There's cameras on every intersection. Certain hoods have cameras on every block, like the Fruittown Brims by USC. You can't walk in that hood without being on camera. And it's just not making sense anymore to engage in this type of conflict unless you're a crash out dude that don't mind going to the penitentiary for the next 25 years. And I believe most people don't want to do that.
True.
So
you said slow down?
Yeah, I think in the next decade or so, gang violence is going to be at a minimum.
I tend to agree also, at least amongst our culture, because I think we're going to be less of us in the area, period.
That's true, too. The demographic is changing, especially on the east side. The east side, man, is like 60% Latino.
Compton is looking crucial, too. It's starting to look a lot different.
Yeah.
Every day just driving around looks a lot different.
I mean, that's what the white folks said when we started moving into LA.
Hey, well, I was told early on by you, don't stop referring to the comments when we shooting, but like two different video, they tried to throw a racist card on you.
Is that, because I asked about the history of blacks and Mexicans in Inglewood. See, there's no way I'm going to interview a Latino gang member from Inglewood and we're not talking about the Mexican-black tensions in Inglewood. It goes back to the 80s. So I don't know why people were so offended, but I don't pay the comments much attention. Cause
I forgot the other video. Me, you, and Spider was talking about something, and it was a recent video, whatever it was. And I forget, though. I can't remember what we were speaking on, but ain't nobody racist up here, bro.
Nah, it's funny because some people say I'm anti-Mexican, and then other days I get a whole onslaught on pro-Mexican. And that's cool. I like that because that means I'm in the middle
I
then.
mean, I don't know, I haven't seen her in a minute, but you just had a whole run collabing with Angie and her whole community for the last 5-6 months.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. She's still around. She's still street TV.
Shout out to Angie.
And they got on my bumper. I guess I wasn't black enough. They said I was taking up for Lefty too much, and with the LA Icon dude.
Oh, that was that conversation with when me and Spider was kind of going in on Icon.
You definitely did show
A little favor.
favoritism toward them, and you also, I think, whether it was on or off camera, told me that you weren't familiar with, and you're coming up in your area, tension between y'all and the SAs. You never experienced that.
No, I didn't, cause like the only Hispanics we had it was quite natural, automatic with the 18th streets because they just BK. They was just pushing at it. You know what I'm saying? That was their thing. So we already knew if it was 18th streets, then that's what it was. But I didn't really feel no Hispanic little tension or nothing until I got to the county jail.
So you didn't deal with that in high school?
We had a culture. It was a thing every single de Mayo. We had a riot with the Mexicans. Yep.
Oh, okay.
But on the 4th, it wouldn't even be nothing. But as soon as Cinco de Mayo hit Morningside and Inglewood High School, shit, it'd be a rumble.
See, that's basically what I was asking Santo G. Is in his era, was it like that? And that was all. I don't know.
How old is he?
Don't remember.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to see if me and him the same. 30 what? Oh, okay, 32. So teach his own. Every city they got a different like type vibe or get up. You know what I'm saying? Like Long Beach, they climate with the racial thing is way different. You know what I'm saying?
I think it right there. It's the most.
Long Beach and San Pedro, it was crucial.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the most tense areas of the county when it comes to black brown right now.
But you go to Watts, and then the Grapes. They got a great relationships with the Watts Video Grapes. It's almost the same thing. They might be in each other kitchens eating tacos from. You know what I'm saying? They love one another.
I think the PJs too don't have some good relations with the Mexicans over there.
I don't know what Mexicans is over there towards the PJs, but
I think Watts in general is like that.
Yeah. Watts in general is the Mexicans and blacks been living in Watts since over 100 years. So that's the only area in our entire county that has that longevity of black-brown relations. There's no other part of L.A. where you could say blacks and Mexicans have lived there for 100 years together. So they got a different dynamic over there, and hopefully it stays positive,
And for those trying to blend or coexist, you might want to look to Watts as a model of how it's done. You know some people from Watts. Holler at your folks and get their perspective on the subject.
That's a great question. I wonder if like the Latinos in the Valley that, like, let's say Canoga Park, Alabama, they've been known to do some anti-black things, or the Avenues, if they have relatives or family members from Watts, because sometimes at the end of the day, you got family all over the place.
if you don't see enough of that, then you go all automatically. I ain't speaking for all races, but like in East LA, all they see is them. You know what I'm saying? So they ain't used to sharing schools and going to the store seeing black people and shit. So they go have that type of, you know what I'm saying? Same thing with Lefty. He from what's that, SGV?
Yeah, Baldwin Park.
Yeah, Baldwin Park, and it's what percent blacks in Baldwin Park?
Probably 5.
Yeah.
Less than
Are you
5.
trying to justify a lack of seeing blacks for having a disdain for them?
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, they not
Don't justify it.
No. Justifying is saying it is right.
That's why I asked. Were you attempting to do so?
I didn't say it was right.
No, that's why I asked. Sometimes you can justify.
Your
things without
answer is no. I ain't saying it's right.
It sounds like sounds like you're providing justification.
Well, when you only amongst your people, that's why I'm knowing the pattern.
Because generally, you can find something that you encounter rarely and be over friendly and over respectful because you have an outsider and a visitor. That could be the natural energy that a human being leads with, other than being repulsed or looking for attention. So just because it's a rare encounter, to me, doesn't seem like it's a natural reason to have disdain.
Yeah, I was just saying from my standpoint, I feel that's they reason, not saying that is right. Just like Lennox. Lennox not a city, but it's a community. They not used to seeing, like, you know what I'm saying? They go be like, what you doing over here, fool? They don't like, I ain't gonna put that on all of them, but they beef with blacks and Tongans, you know what I'm saying?
Hey, we should be able to walk to the store or walk to the park in any community in this entire county without nobody tripping.
Man, you should be able to do a lot of things. All right, this might offend people, right? But it's just like black people, we just more welcome and accepting than say the Hispanics. You know what I mean? Even like in the county jail, if it's a black from a Mexican gang, we not talking about he got to get out the dorm or what I'm saying, gotta or even care. But let it be a Mexican from a black gang or you know what I'm saying? Then it's a problem. We ain't never like just black. We just welcome people. We just a real, you know. And no disrespect towards the Hispanics, because everybody ain't the same. Everybody.
We know you not disrespecting Hispanics, bro.
No, but they might not know. No.
You make it clear, bro. You make it real clear. You had said nothing borderline disrespectful, Munchie.
Man,
Not at all.
You know how this internet work.
I know, but you're doing very good.
All right. A couple weeks ago, we talked about the Treetop Fruittown Piru conflict that inspired the Piru Walk, YG Game, and others. I think that was 2 weeks ago now, right? Yeah, that was 2 weeks ago. And I had mentioned that the conflict may have went back 30 years to 1993 to Travion Logan, but I wasn't certain if it was consistent from 93 to the present. But I did find two cases between the Treetops and the Fruit Towns from 2006. So we know that at least was how many years ago? That's 18.
Louisiana?
Huh?
Was one of them at a Louisiana chicken?
I don't remember.
Okay.
But there were two separate cases. Something was going on in 2006 because I found two cases where they were going up on each other. That's 18 years ago.
I mean, it's been
2006.
It's been a couple casualties back and forth.
Yeah, but I was just trying to figure out from 1993 when Travion Logan passed between, I guess, 2006. I'm not certain if the conflict lasted consistently through those years.
I doubt it.
Yeah.
I doubt it.
But we recently found out that Travion Logan is a relative of Compton Rick Rock.
Yeah, Compton Rick Rock. Shout out to Compton Rick Rock. He sent us quite a juvenile photograph for Travion, rest in peace. And he was kind of appreciated the fact that his people's even mentioned. He said that's his blood people's, and he said he's going to do a reaction to the segment if you didn't mind.
Yeah, I've heard him say that he had a family member from Treetop that was deceased. He never said his name though. And I guess when he heard us say Travion Logan, he was probably like, "Wow, that's my cousin."
Right.
So that's 93. Now he would probably be someone that might know, even though he's not from Treetop, but he should know if it was consistent. The conflict was consistent from 93. But I do know for sure 2006 it was up, and that was 18 years ago, and that still makes that a very long beef.
Right. Compared to others, you know, I brought up the 30s and the 40s earlier, and then that was a decade. That was 10 years.
Yeah, you mentioned the 30s and the 40s on Rich at Heart. That was your most recent episode, so go tap in with that, people. And I believe that started in 95 or 96 and ended in 2006. So that was a good decade.
Right. I was at that parade when they came together, met up on King, and squashed it on King Day.
Yeah, I think the worst thing that happened in that beef, someone got paralyzed, and there was quite a few shootings. I'm not certain if anyone died in that beef.
I don't know. I'm gonna be told that's Crip business. So I'm gonna leave it alone. But
Yeah.
I wonder what you was doing watching the peace tree.
I know. Who, me?
Trying to mess it up?
Nah, hell no. My kind wouldn't even be. You know, look. I don't go to King Parades no more. But you know, the Bloods be more closer towards the mall, and then the Crips they be more towards Western. So that day they came together, whatever that chicken place called. Like, you know what I'm saying? They was in the parking lot.
Oh, you talking about the Popeyes on King and Western?
Yeah. They was all in that parking lot. The 40s came from this way. The Hardest Gun, they was out there. They pieced it up, and it was cool. Well, yeah, it was cool.
Well, you just happened to be at the parade. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I was at the parade. You know what I'm saying? Me being 35 in like 2 months, looking back, that was a cool thing.
And I do have an interview that this was talked about. I don't remember which interview it was, but I'll make sure to put a link in the show notes of this episode, and I'll have that interview of whoever spoke about the beef between the 30s and the 40s.
Spider retarded. Hey, he said, what you trying to mess it up, dog? You know, I was at the parade.
Yeah, I thought you was like, hey, take me up here. I heard what you want going on with one of your little gerbs or something.
Nah, hell no. You know, it wasn't even on social media back then like that, but I don't think nobody else knew that was going to take place other than the 30s and the 40s. You know what I'm saying?
And they did that without like, outside assistance with intervention. They figured out how to fix that on their own. Even though it lasted a decade, they figured it out, and they've been cool ever since.
Yeah.
So shout out to the 40s and the 30s for bringing peace back in 05, 06, whenever it was you guys did that.
To all peace efforts, man. Egos must die in order for peace to be brought about. You gotta let your egos go, y'all.
No, just to get we can move on, but just to get Spider up to speed, I was basically saying with the picture, what somebody at the Piru Peace Walk throwing up the middle finger with the C. The thing is, it wasn't about the Crips. So if they doing some Piru-ish and that you seen that, then whatever. Because the 30s and the 40s, they did their thing. And if it was Inglewood families with the middle finger or BPS with the middle finger, then, I mean, so what? That day wasn't about us. Well, that moment, what they had wasn't about us, though. So stop trying to take from me.
No key way should project they feelings into looking at a Piru Peace photograph and throw it off. You got to just take that on the chin. There's no need to even reacting to that part of it.
Right, because they either told me you hating because your side ain't got it together, or you just want to react to something, you just want to be heard.
And then some people, everybody is not just sound thinking as we may consider ourselves. Some people may be offended by things that are not necessarily should be offensive. Some people are just more sensitive than others. Mm-hmm. And it speaks a lot to the ignorance that attends gangbanging a lot. We get on these platforms and we discuss it from such an intellectual perspective, and we kind of like lose sight of a lot of ignorance that be involved in this a lot of times.
But gangbanging is an ignorant sport.
That's my point.
So I ain't gonna cap, even though you took part. But for you to look at a picture from a Piru Peace March and be mad, even if you seen a shirt with some disrespect or somebody throwing up a disrespectful gang sign, that's dumb. I didn't quite get that.
I mean, you could consider it dumb, but niggas go dumb for they set. So I understand the ignorance. Even though it is ignorance, I get it. I'm not that surprised that some Crips said something about seeing you feel me? I'm not surprised at all.
All right.
Hey, as a photographer, what I usually do in those situations, I let them do their thing, and then I say, hey, can we get a picture with no signs, no gang signs, none of that, and then that's the picture that I'll use. You know,
it happened even with homies because they want to send pictures to the joint.
Well, if you want to send them to the joint, you got to do it without the signs.
That's what I'm saying. We chunk them up, then they be like, no signs, no signs, because you're going to take some more.
Yeah.
But a photographer didn't take that. That was just a picture that went viral because when a rapper in there, and then I think this particular person just wanted to find something wrong to say.
I remember Big Payback was my artist, and he shot a video that I paid for. And when I got the final cut, no, I didn't get it. When it got uploaded, everybody called me like, hey, I thought this was your artist, SPI. I'm like, it is. What's happening? He shot a video, everybody chunking up neighborhood in the video. So I go look at it. I'm like, damn. So I call Payback. I'm like, cuz, what's woo-woo? He like, oh, man. After the editor started editing the video, he said if he cut all of that out, I ain't gonna have no video left. So he put the video out anyway instead of doing a reshoot. But it was hella eye busters in it, bro.
Hey, but go back to that video. What Nipsey video RSC to the day that I die. I'm gonna be from RSC to the day that I die. I believe Big U went back and then, you know, all the graffiti that was on the wall that might have been some disrespectful whackouts, he either like edited it out or blurred it out or something because he wanted it to, you know, everybody to mess with the song. You know what I'm saying? So that's different. That's just some music shit versus because he trying to sell some music. So that's different. So I see why he did that. Other than that,
hey, you got to try to be as respectful as possible. I got a lot of flack for letting a Big Stretch from Fruittown Brim say crab quite a few times, and I couldn't edit it out. In fact, I edited out as many times that he said that word as I could.
But YouTube audience, am I supposed to be offended the way he just said that? I just want y'all, because y'all know how they do on these platforms.
let me tell you something. All right, did you didn't get, you got way more blowback
I'm not
from
offended,
him
y'all.
saying that
Nice
word,
one, bro.
versus when he was talking about the BL thing.
I think I got pushed back more on when he talked about the prison politics.
Yeah.
Because I was getting phone calls.
Yeah, he went crazy on that.
But I got a little bit of internet hate for letting him say that so many times. What they didn't see is the editing of Hey, can you bleep it out when he said it there? Okay, can we bleep it out there? All right, can we bleep that one out? No, we can't bleep that one out because that's in the middle of an important sentence.
Okay.
All right, we'll keep that one. How about this one? All right, we can get that one. So I did my best to try to bleep out as many derogatory terms as he said. But at the end of the day, I think 3 or 4 of them still got in there.
Okay, so do that have anything to do with your reasoning for telling X4 to stop dissing Hoover? Because you thought back to that?
I did actually. I did. And it's something that I try to tell everybody to do in the beginning of the interview. I say, if we can limit the amount of disrespecting the enemies, I would appreciate it. And sometimes people respect it, and sometimes you get a reaction like X4, F all that, you know?
The culture.
He said, oh, but you want me to nice it up? Nice it up? Yeah.
And I would think he would understand because he's a musician. He's an artist, and he should be getting this
family from the other side.
And I'm sure that whoever is his advisors that is helping him with his career are telling him the same exact thing.
But he
Well,
programmed.
at that point, he was so raw, and we kind of familiar with his advisors, so he probably wasn't getting all the best game. He might be polished up better by now, though.
Yeah.
It's been about a year and a half.
He don't do too many interviews, though. I think I recently ran across one.
That was more the way of the artists of the past. So if he's looking to create his artistry in a more traditional way and keep that exclusivity, that's probably wise. It's more of a more common thing for artists to be in everybody's face all the time.
And then going back to your boy Big Payback, rest in peace, he wanted to do an interview with me where he was dissing people by name. I said, Payback, I understand you're upset. Let's try to keep these people's names out of the video, but you can just express your frustration of what's going on in the hood. And he said, okay. But then he went back to his channel. He did a whole different video, naming names.
Before he passed.
And I try to tell him this is not the way you want to go. You a rapper. You an artist. Let's just say, hey, I'm upset what's going on with in my hood, XYZ, but let's not name people. And he ended up naming people on his own platform. And I don't know if that's connected to what happened to him. But
either, but I do know he was living a life where he was getting bullet holes in his car, getting them fixed, swapping the car, house being shot up. He was trying to swap guns out with me on a consistent basis. And it was just up for his life. Whatever it was, I didn't know the exact politic. I think some of it was with his own homies, but he just had a lot of activity going on in his life that wasn't peaceful.
Rest in peace, Payback.
Yeah, rest in peace, Payback.
And it's ironic, he comes up out of an area that traditionally does not have a lot of violence and crime, but for whatever reason, it was up in his life.
But him
What
and
you
his
mean?
personal
North Hollywood,
experience
from North Hollywood.
let me know that element exists out there, and I know for a fact Payback done left North Hollywood and went all the way off to 110, all the way in our area, and got cracking before too.
Yeah.
Hey, look, it go up everywhere. So I don't know. I know the West is, they got the 2P beef, the liquor streets, what I'm saying, the Mexicans. So I don't know.
Well, if you do a map of violent crime in L.A. County,
Compare and contrast type
I'm going to say that about 70% of the violent crime is in one police division in L.A.
77.
77.
I understand exactly what you're saying,
Yeah.
but I understand what he's trying to make sure it doesn't seem like you're saying, because you can trigger a whole lot of people. There's a debate going on with two homies right now online because of similar statements made like this.
Look, I'm a social scientist. I look at the data, I look at the numbers, and there ain't no disrespect to people in the San Fernando Valley, but at the end of the day, they have about 10%, 15% of the violence that happens in the entire city. And the majority of the violence in our city happens in 77 Division, and then the second most violent section is the Southeast Division, where I believe
The Harlems.
no, Southeast is the East Side. It's the East Side. Southeast is Watts.
Southeast
It's
is
your
108.
section.
108.
108th.
Yeah, so on the Ape Station.
All of Watts, all of the projects, that's Southeast.
The Linwood shit too.
Yeah.
All that.
So you confused me with the Southeast thing, because they the police station I think is on King. It's called South something.
That's called
too.
Southwest.
Southwest. There
So
it
you
goes.
got Southwest Division, you got Southeast Division. Southwest is in the top 6 or 7, but it's 77 is the monster.
Don't nobody call it Southeast though. It's one on Ape Station. That's why I was confused. Yeah.
Okay, but
He's a social scientist, sir.
so I'm just looking at
They didn't say nothing about geography. southeast and all this shit.
Social science
I'm just looking at the raw numbers. You know, you look at the raw numbers.
data.
Yeah, 77 Division will have the number one homicides every single year.
They cover a lot of ground though.
Well, most of these divisions are designed to have about the same population.
They can't.
They do. That's what it's designed to do.
No, they designed, but 7-7.
Yeah, that's why we have a new division got carved in the valley called Mission. Right now, where we're at right now is we're in a new division that used to be a different division. Oh. So they carve it out because they want to balance it to make sure that the populations are equal in the divisions. If you get too many people in this one division, they're gonna cut it in half.
Is this like a competitive thing that you don't want the most cracking area to be, not your area?
Who?
Munchie.
Oh,
One more time.
Or you just don't want to hear that the most cracking area is on the east side?
No, hell no. I just think 7-7 division. I think they cover more ground than the other departments.
well, it's usually about population, and there's about 200,000 people in each division. So
7-7 go away to the Swans, don't they?
yeah, it goes all the way to Broadway. Yeah.
Okay. Then you got they in the 60s, and then they all over the place. That's what I'm saying. It's other departments that cover the ground that.
I mean, I can give you the square miles of 77 Division, and it's usually about the same. But here's an interesting thing. Guess which division has the most gangs in it? The most gangs. And it ain't 77.
It got to be 108 then.
No, there's a division on the east side called Newton.
That's what I just said.
Oh, you said Newton? Yeah. Okay, I didn't hear you. Newton has the most gangs in any division.
And who they police?
They got 38th Street, the Outlaws. It's the low bottoms from like Washington, Adams. Who else? You got the Faux Trays over there. You got the Faux Deuces, Faux 8, the 4-pack. You got I believe there's some. I think the 6-pack. No, 6-packs might not be in Newton Division, but Newton Division. It's because they got a bunch of Mexican gangs over there, and
they got small though,
and they got a bunch of tiny Mexican gangs that have like 2 blocks. So when you count all the sets over there, they got
41st Street and all that.
Yeah, they got Primera Flats, 23rd Street. They got Locos Park. They got Ghetto Boys. So you know they got the most gangs on the map, Newton Division. But let me move on to a fact check from I believe this would have been last week, Munchie. I don't know how Suge came up and courts came up. You said he don't have no luck in the court system anyway.
I said criminal or civil.
Yeah, criminal or civil. But he won one of his most important cases when it comes to finances. It's that Terry Carter lawsuit that he was looking at $81 million to pay. That case is done with. It's over with, and he don't have any financial obligation to the Carter family. They didn't refile. The first trial ended up in a hung jury. There was an agreement. They had a certain amount of days to file the second trial, and for whatever reason, they never filed the second trial. So that means it is over, and he don't have to pay $80 million. And I knew that was going to be a big problem. We know he was never going to pay it, but that impacts his income. If he's making $10,000 a week on a podcast, or if he's going to make $1 million on a movie, guess what? That money would have got diverted.
Right.
So he won that $81 million lawsuit. But yeah, he's lost quite a few cases though.
He got one victory.
Yeah, he got. Well, I don't know if he's only got one.
I didn't even know he was up against that.
What the civil suit? The Carter family was coming after him.
Wrongful death.
Yeah. And you know he got a lot of kids, Terry Carter, and then his wife was named in the lawsuit, and the kids were so.
Terry Carter tried to play "Buy Beautiful World" for me, man. Offered me some chump change. Rest in peace, Terry Carter. But Papa Smurf, I don't know if Papa Smurf was in on the deal trying to swindle me, but he made the connection. And we went and met him over there at his office, right where Hawthorne turns into La Brea. He used to have an office right back there, and he offered me the little chump change for the song. I'm like, man, what you gonna do with it? And he was like, don't worry about it. Once it's mine, it's mine. You ain't gotta worry about what I'm gonna do with it. But it was some of the most jankiest negotiations I've been involved in with a record exec. Rest in peace, Terry Carter.
Did you try to negotiate that? Can I get like 2% back, 3% back, 5%, something?
I'm not gonna lie. I was more interested in the bigger front end that I tried to negotiate, and he wasn't willing to budge. the conversation didn't even get to the back end because he wasn't even really forthcoming with his plans or anything. So we didn't go that further. We didn't even take a second meeting on it.
Okay. Yeah, man, that's like that ghetto negotiations, huh?
Our office hours are from 9 to 5.
Rest in peace to bro.
Rest in peace. Heavyweight.
And I'm going to go on the record and say that was an accident that Suge did that to him.
I would imagine so.
There was nothing deliberate, no malicious intentions. He was just trying to get out of there. That was it. And if you look at the video, it's kind of weird. Terry kind of he kind of moves in the direction that Suge's going in, and by the time he sees the truck, it's too late. And yeah, it was man,
extremely unfortunate.
Yeah, it was bizarre, man. I remember Bone told me after he got ran over, he's on the ground and he's like sideways and he's looking at Terry on the ground.
I heard somebody recorded him on the phone telling that story. It's up on YouTube somewhere.
Oh yeah. That's that dude secretly recorded him.
Yeah.
And we ain't gonna go into that dude, but yeah, man, Suge did win this case, and it was an important case because it was a huge financial debt that he would have had to somehow slither out of. You know, if he would have had to do all of this, well, let me get my wife to be the person that makes the money on this podcast or this movie, and then the Carter family would have to come. You know, there's ways okay, we're gonna go after the wife then, or we're gonna go after this person.
Right.
It would have been just a mess, but hey, he got out of that. So basically, he won that case.
Yeah, they wasn't gonna see no money from him.
Nah, they wasn't. Just like OJ. They didn't get no money from OJ. But OJ had to dodge things and do things certain kind of way, move to a whole nother state. Yeah, to get out of that $33 million debt.
OJ had a good advisor.
Similar to what we discussed, Game perhaps was having to do with the Priscilla thing and got kind of complicated for him.
Well, here's the thing: California does not protect your houses. That's why OJ moved. He didn't want to lose his mansion. So he sold it and then bought a mansion in Florida and under Florida law, it's protected. So if Game is smart, sell the house that you got now, go buy a house out of state. You don't got to live in Calabasas. You don't got to live in Santa Clarita. You don't got to live in California.
If he had a house in his name already, it would have been gone.
But technically, I could live in your home as long as you allow me, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, with that type of move, it could live. Anybody close enough to.
Yeah, he can sell the house to a family member, if it's in his name.
Right.
But the court systems are getting smarter and smarter, and they're not allowing people to try to circumvent their obligations just because you put this car in someone's name. And, there's ways that it's going to be harder and harder to do that. You got to do what OJ did. All right, I'm leaving California. I'm going to live in Florida. And my house is protected. Yeah, I'm out of here. I don't need these dudes breathing down my neck every day.
Right, makes sense.
And I know how that is. I was in a bankruptcy case once, and man, these people came out of the woodworks to that court date and be like, Mr. Alonso owes us this. Another person, Mr. Alonso owes us that. I'm like, damn. They coming for their money. So I see why OJ did what he did. I think that was a smart move. All right, we talked about the definition of Culture Vulture and Spider. You went into the literal actions of what vultures do
in their habitat,
and you put that into the definition to a certain degree. I looked up a few definitions and I want to read them. Some of them are from different dictionaries. This one is from Urban Dictionary. It says here, a culture vulture is someone who steals traits, language, or fashion from another ethnic or social group in order to create their own identity. Here's another one. One who appropriates the art, creativity, and style of others, most often for their own benefit, and at worst in a way that serves no value to the originators of what cultural product, tradition, or practice was lifted from. Here, let me read it one more. A culture vulture is a person who adopts something from a different community and makes it their own. And do you see similarities or differences from how you said it last week?
Similarities, differences as well. My definition was a lot more aggressive. because I assumed that, like you said, I took the natural meaning, and I actually consider, not just what they took, but what they left for those that they were taken from. And so that got into my definition, because I figure like a vulture, someone that came and partook with our culture, but did not necessarily take and not give, would not necessarily be considered a vulture. You know what I'm saying?
Here, there's one more here I'll read. This is the last definition. A person or organization making profit using unhonorable practices from a culture they do not care for. That's pretty.
A lot of people would think that's the American industry of.
That's the record business. That's the history of the record business.
Definitely the history of the record business. From the onset, I'm understanding that white people getting off a subway saw black performers and getting money put into hats, and they upscaled the whole concept from there, and that's how the industry was born.
Hey, have the Jews been involved in the record business even back to the 30s and 40s and 50s when record producing started, or is that a more modern business practice?
But the self-censored word, since you're so bold, was Jew. That's when I left out.
Oh, okay.
I was told it was like Jews stepping off the trains, seeing the blacks singing and harmonizing, and saw people put money in, and they saw the vision and started, hey, what if I gave you this? Would you sing those songs for me and let me own them? And that's where it began. So I could be wrong when I say it was Jews, but I thought that's what the story was.
No, I seen a couple documentaries where some of the Jews were hanging out with the jazz performers from the clubs and then inviting them to come record, and then basically stealing their music, stealing their lyrics, and making, I don't know at that time what they were making, but a whole lot more money than they were making.
And that has seemed to be the model ever since.
And we're talking about, I've seen documentaries that depict this going on in the 40s with some of the first black entertainers.
We see it at least as far back as the Five Heartbeat movies and the Temptations, so we know it didn't start there. And that had to be, what, the 50s?
Yeah, that would be either the 50s or the 60s. But yeah.
I think that word just get used too loosely.
But now that the internet, most words seem like they get oversaturated. But I didn't mean to bring this up, didn't plan on it. But with this subject matter in the air, either you happen to see my recent appearance and leaving of American Cholo podcast.
I did see that. And but you came back though. You left and came back a couple minutes later.
I didn't leave as far as to leave. I removed myself from being next to a source of irritation that was developing, and I didn't want to lose control of whatever may happen. I just felt like that was the best thing to do. But I just sat across and cooled off and just let things. I didn't leave the premises or anything. But he was touching me at the time. He said the word dick. I was not understanding.
Tapping you with some shit?
Calm down. But resting his hand on my wrist.
And said the DICK word.
Yeah, like how now I've seen Brick Baby and Adam and Lush One react to it. And I get he was like, they went to oh, you dick, like the regular, but that's not something I'm really familiar with. They was trying to make the dick sound like, oh, you fucker, how Mexicans say it. But at the time he said dick, bro, it was so out of nowhere, and the irritation was already built. And then to have like this clammy, warm, kind of soft, kind of firm grip on my wrist, cameras on, I just was extremely uncomfortable. But it was all about the subject matter of Culture Vulture in general.
Yeah. I saw the back and forth, and I don't think you really get anywhere in these types of back and forth when you have someone as stubborn as you and as stubborn as him. It's almost pointless to even. I mean, if it's content, right?
No, I'm not there for content. I was there for healthy dialogue. However, I think you know how I practice. You have tried to teach me on my own platform, 60-40 to the guest. I went in there thinking myself 20-80, 20 me speaking. So stubborn or not, there was nothing he expressed that I disagreed with to show any stubbornness. I just was not allowed to express myself. I wasn't stubborn toward anything he said. He said they were intimidated by blacks because they were BBGs, big black guys. I didn't debate that with him. I didn't argue with him. My only issue was him saying that the way we view tacos as Mexican food, that didn't translate to hip hop being our thing. No matter who does it, like, okay, do you think tacos are Mexican food?
Yeah, it fall under that.
That's what I'm saying. He trying to bring up Taco Bell, like, okay, if it's still ours, does Taco Bell Mexican? No, but on the wall it says Mexican food. If you look at the paper, everything says Mexican food. So it's just an acknowledgement. I like black tacos better than the traditional Mexican taco.
Okay, but if it ain't Mexican food, why have a dog that say you ghetto Taco Bell?
That's my point.
A Chihuahua, which is a Mexican dog.
So that's what I'm saying. No matter who makes the taco, we all agree we're making Mexican food. But when it comes to rap music, all of a sudden, who's performing it, it changes the origin of whose it is. And I don't think that's fair, because when you go from the older Latinos, they loved R&B oldies. They listened to them. They respected our culture. They accepted it, and that was it. You never heard a debate, was this black music or not? But now that the Latinos have gotten younger, it's the same practice, same tradition of Chicanos appreciating our musical renditions, but now it's a debate as to whose culture it is.
Oh shit! I never heard the debate.
I think part of the debate
Is they walk them in with how they word it, like.
Well, there's a debate that has nothing to do with Mexicans, but it has to do with Puerto Ricans on whether or not they were there day one of hip hop and participated in it. That's a different debate, and maybe they're trying to piggyback off of that.
I think it probably is a conversation that bled over,
because I think most people agree that hip hop and rap started in the Bronx. Well, who was living in the Bronx in the 1970s? It was black and Puerto Ricans. And were Puerto Ricans there? They absolutely were. Were they a part of it in the beginning? Absolutely. So are they Latino? Yeah. So maybe somehow that the West Coast Mexicans are trying to say, hey, we got a stake in hip hop too, even though Puerto Ricans and Mexicans aren't even related to each other in any, culturally, they're not related. The only thing they got in common is they speak the same language.
I just don't care for the culture vulture word, because if I got the bread to buy a soccer team, they ain't typically no black, right, or sport. I'm gonna buy me a soccer team. Like, so what, I'm gonna be a culture vulture too?
Well, you're gonna definitely get some criticism. You're gonna have to deal with that.
I'm doing what any smart person go do. I'm gonna go where the money at.
I figured that.
What was that, Spider?
Don't you have some Puerto Rican descent, blood, and lineage?
Yeah, I do.
I was just curious. I mean, I knew that from a long time ago. It wasn't in front of my mind, but when you spoke about your perspective as far as hip hop, and I was reminded of your lineage.
But see, a lot of people use the word create. Who created hip hop? I don't know who created hip hop, because hip hop wasn't really created. It was something that developed, formed, and evolved into what it became.
No, it wasn't created, it was born. And it was born in the Bronx.
And whether it was born or created, I think any logical mind can agree, since its inception, has been a black thing.
Well, who was the first DJ?
I cannot recall. That's what I'm saying.
I would say Kool Herc, but Kool Herc is got Jamaican roots. So here's the question.
Jamaican is black.
Well, so's Puerto Rican. But what a lot of people are saying, it's a black American thing. The FBA term, foundational black Americans, don't include Jamaicans. Foundational black Americans don't include people from Trinidad, Tobago, Puerto Rico, Cuba, Dominican Republic. So that was the debate when it comes to hip hop.
Who else used that FBA term other than the boy? What's his name?
Tariq Nasheed.
Who else used that term other than him?
Well, I guess
he created it,
He
right?
inspired.
Yeah, people who follow. And then ADOS is another term that's similar to FBA. ADOS is
I think he used to adhere to that term.
American descendants of slaves. So American descendants of slave excludes Jamaicans, Dominicans, Puerto Ricans.
But blacks were rapping before hip hop, if you're talking about rhyming and telling a story in a rhythmic, melodic way.
Definitely.
So it wasn't the inception of hip hop that brought on rap. And I think when we talk about hip hop in its current form, I think people are more talking about rapping.
But I agree that the guy that's the first modern rapper, Culture Vulture, he's a brother. Okay. He's a black American. He gets that. That's his stamp. But when it comes to DJing, a lot of these DJs had family from the Caribbean. They weren't black Americans. So I think in the beginning, I would say majority of the dudes were black Americans, but you can't discount the black Caribbeans that were on the streets of the Bronx at the same time.
Well, on the streets of the Bronx, in its most rawest, purest form, you may be correct. But the version of hip hop that went forth to the world was a black thing.
Well, what is hip hop? There's elements.
Or rap. I'm gonna go back to
okay,
rap.
rap.
Hip hop is elements.
Yeah.
And I believe the debate gets lost with a lot of people, black people. I don't think they're talking about spray painting and scratching and mixing and breakdancing. And I don't think they even care to debate that. I think they talking about spitting.
Yeah, just spitting. If it's just spitting, but even in the beginning of hip hop, spitting was secondary. It was the DJ that was doing the party that was the main attraction.
I'm aware of that. However, the most premier element that got everybody's attention over the long run was the MC.
Yeah, almost all the other elements kind of fell off.
Down, correct.
Even in the 80s, most rap groups had DJs, like
Yes,
Kid and Play,
yes.
De La Soul. Nobody has a
I was
DJ
taught
now.
that the MC was birthed to hold down the DJ. The DJ was the one that rocked the party. He didn't have to show up with his craze build up, and he started implementing MCs to accentuate his show, his set.
But you know which DJ is that today? Khaled. Dude don't rap. He don't sing.
Right.
You know, but there's very few DJs that are just DJs.
Everybody got DJs these days.
Also,
back
you
to it.
gotta throw in dude from Pusha Inc.
Mustard.
Mustard.
I didn't know where he was from.
Well, I don't even think that's a thing anymore.
He's
but
more of a producer too, though. He don't he make beats? Because I think Khaled just like does the Dr. Dre at some time. I mean, the Quincy Jones.
yeah, but they're primarily DJs that have made it. Khaled, Mustard, and there might be a few that I'm missing, but for the most part, the DJ is not as relevant as he used to be.
No, you're right. Because even I realized at the radio station, the DJ is nobody. They're not.
Yeah.
Program director makes a decision. You learn that by trying to get DJs to do things, and they tell you they only have a small amount of room to wiggle.
And the only reason why I bring all this up, I'm wondering if Mexicans are trying to attach themselves to the Caribbean Latinos that were there when hip hop and rap started to try to put themselves into the history of it.
Well, that's why I said Latinos, because I've been overeducated through the comments. I think he told me himself he's not Mexican, American Cholo, and I'm only reacting to the conversation I had with one individual. I'm not speaking on behalf of the perspective of Mexicans in general. It was the dialogue that he and I was having, where I think that's what he was trying to say, that it didn't. We had no state claim or nothing. It was just a generic thing that anybody can claim to have been a part of, or there's no cultural significance to black people in rap, is the position I was taking from him as an individual.
Now, you definitely got to give rap to black people been rapping before hip hop. And there's quite a lot of evidence to support that. So you got to give it to black folks, and that's what it is. Black Americans, to be specific. And even like art forms like jazz. Jazz was created by blacks in the United States of America. You know, one of my favorite musical art forms, R&B. You know, it's just so many art forms.
And yet and still, Kenny G is one of the most contemporary premier names for jazz. So you will have some white folks who probably weren't quite educated argue you down.
Yeah. Well, you know, there was a time when West Coast jazz came out in the, I want to say the 60s or 70s, and the rest of America did not accept West Coast jazz. They was like, that's a knockoff, because one of the top groups was the David Brubeck Quartet, white boys. I think it was I'm saying his name right? The David Brubeck Quartet. They did have a couple hits though. But, well, you know, white guys doing jazz.
I've seen a clip floating around on Facebook. I think it's Frankie Lyman. But it was the first time he performed his song in public, and the white females in the crowd realized he was black, and it just showed all shock and disappointment in their face. I guess the record had been spinning on radio, and they've been playing, they loving it, and they come to see him live, and this black dude out here singing his song, and they was just...
All right, I got a trivia question for you. Who's the first rapper or rap group to go platinum?
Run DMC.
And I saw
The Beastie Boys.
that makes
White boys.
See?
Yeah.
See?
They sold 5 million records of that. They had a couple of bangers on that album, though. I gotta admit.
Revere and all that. I remember
that. They had a couple bangers. They definitely had a couple bangers. They were the Eminem before Eminem.
Right.
You know.
Right.
But all right, we got to move on to.
Then there was Vanilla Ice.
Yeah, Vanilla, he ended up doing like 15, 20 million records. Crazy.
Yeah.
MC Hammer did 10 million off of that Bunk album, but he had some hits. No disrespect.
It wasn't our type.
Is it disrespectful that I just called that album Bunk?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was.
because you
It
would
was?
have. Yeah,
How you
I'm a
say
rapper.
bunk and then go say her hits on it?
Yeah, so
Well, I mean, the hits like Too Legit
it
to
wasn't
Quit.
Bunk for that time.
I thought it was Bunk in live. Live, I thought it was Bunk. In fact, I have a picture. I had the MC Hammer album in my bedroom on the dartboard, and I used to throw darts on it.
Well, I'm not saying that was my type of music, but I can remember that being a song that come on the radio or being on TV somewhere, and I bob to it.
Yeah, I mean, it had some hits, but I thought it was Bunk.
You say you threw darts at his album?
Yeah,
Man, MC Hammer go whoop your ass. Man.
yeah,
You
man.
knew that shit was hard when he was ain't that when he came out the hotel room and looked down and said something? He like he had one hard part in the video. I forget. I'm tired. Yeah, I knew I wasn't tripping. I had a hoodie on when I got here. I had to come out that thing.
But he did 10 million on that record.
I
You
wonder
believe that?
you think he still did? He think he had a proper deal? One of them deals we complain about,
I don't know, but he ended up filing bankruptcy some years after. So
like the TLC story a little bit.
yeah. All right. No disrespect to you, MC Hammer. I apologize.
He wanna fade.
I apologize for calling your album Bunk. But dude, 1989, I was a teenager. I just wasn't feeling it.
Yeah,
You know?
that's when we was like on our thuggery a little bit.
Yeah. All right. I wanted to talk about this comment that I made last week, and we got a clip that we're gonna play so I could explain what I meant by the comment. But last week when we was talking about the Black Sam interview, I said something about I was cool with both of them, Nipsey and Big U. But when they had their clash, you had to pick a side. Now, I wasn't saying that I specifically picked the side, but everybody assumed I picked the side and I must have picked the Big U side. Never did I pick a side. What I meant by that was if you're from over there, if you were in that section, which I'm not from, you pick the side. And I want to play a clip to where this actually came from. It is I interviewed Jermaine Williams, who is Loose Cannon's identical twin brother, and he talked about how Loose Cannon ended up picking the side. At that time, he was in Big U's camp. And that's, I guess he did a song with Nip and then ended up hanging out with Big U and picked the side. And that's where this thing comes from. Play the Jermaine Williams clip, please. So I interviewed Jermaine Williams, the identical twin of Loose Cannon, and this is what he had to say about what was going on back then. You found out about Nip getting shot before your brother did.
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah, I did.
And then you called him up and told him.
Yeah. See what I'm getting, because I talked to my cousin. My cousin has she has what she said. She said she talked to her baby daddy Nip 30 minutes before he got shot.
You talking about China?
China.
Okay.
She has that. She said it was on a podcast or interview, so you should be able to look that up. And I guess that's where my brother got that story from.
Okay. And I also know that your brother didn't even have Nipsey's phone number at that time. Mm-hmm. Now, they may have done a song together back in 2011, I think that was.
Yeah.
Which would have been
Bringing
like
California back, yeah.
Bringing California Back, which was like 8 years before. Mm-hmm. But in 2019, according to Gigi, and then according to Spider, they weren't even in communications with each other. Or do you know of any sort of connection between your brother and Nipsey in 2019?
No, I mean, the thing is, it was an issue in the hood. So people had to pick sides on if they was going to go on one side or the other side. He chose the other side. So they didn't have no communication like that because of the side that he chose.
And he chose, I think this is all public. Everyone's talked about it. You talking about when Nip and Big U got into it in 2011 over there at the parking lot.
It was hood business.
Yeah. But I mean, it's hood business, but everybody already done covered it. And at that time, your brother was cool with Big U. Mm-hmm. And that means that he wasn't communicating. Okay, so this whole thing about taking a side, it comes from this interview I did with Jermaine. So when I said you had to take a side, you know, he was schooling me on people took sides. Alex Alonso never took a side in this situation because I'm not from over there. I didn't grow up over there. It wasn't my choice. And I'm not even sure if everybody from the section took a side, but obviously there were sides being taken, and that's all. That was the only point I was trying to make.
I tend to agree with you. I know there was some division amongst the issue, but I think it was people that sat it out as well.
Yeah, and I think Munchie, you made a comment about kicking him when he was down, literally, and people completely twisted the meaning that you wanted people to gather from that statement, and they made it seem like you was present during the assault against Draco because you said kicking him when he's down, but I knew you meant the figure of speech, kicking someone when they're down.
Right.
You know, so nah, I never took a side in that at all. I'm not from over there. I'm not from that section. And let me just before we move on, I just want to also stress and articulate: me and Nipsey never had a physical fight ever. Nipsey never touched me. He never hit me. He never punched me. I certainly never got a wedgie or whatever else people are saying that Nipsey did to me. That never happened at all. In fact, I've had a picture of Nipsey hanging up on this wall for many years. In fact, hey, Safir, do me a favor. Grab that. Grab that for me real quick. You know, I've had this hanging up over here for, on and off for years.
I've been wondering what happened to it.
And, I had about 200 copies of this thing. And I used to keep it on that. Remember that table I used to have in here?
Most certainly do.
Okay, I had that table. I used to keep copies of this on the table and give them away of this final call with Nipsey on the cover. And then when it started getting low, when it got down to about 20, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna stop giving these away. So I probably have maybe 15 of these final calls with Nipsey on them that I cherish. I'm not doing anything with the last ones that I have, and I even got the signed. Remember his DVD or CD that he was selling for $100? I don't know what year that was, but I ended up getting a signed copy of that from Nip. So, I had no hate for Nip. There's nothing negative between me and Nip. We had one interaction that you can say was negative. It lasted 30 seconds, and then that was it. It was over and done with. And that's all I really got to say on that.
Rest in peace to the homie, neighborhood Nip.
Hey, I'm gonna fact check myself, right? Cause I'll be saying, some red dot, blue dot thing, and Nipsey and YG they do their thing, and I'm like, I ain't impressed because they ain't immediate enemies.
Yeah,
I'd be more impressed if he did a song with like Schoolboy Q. He did do one.
He did the Joe Moses one, didn't he?
Yeah, but see, already look. Okay, he had a project called Gang Injunction. It don't never get talked about. But he had a gang of people on that project, and he got a song with Schoolboy Q on there. So that's a fact check with me, because I done said that a couple times. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Yeah.
And who was what's his name? His brother, Loose Cannon brother?
Jermaine Williams.
That hood business shit that's laughable, bro.
I mean, it is hood business, but because we got the internet now and everybody's reacting.
Man, like...
You gotta let him have that, bro. He ain't made no splash talking a whole bunch of street business on the internet.
Actually, Nipsey was in a documentary where he's in the parking lot and he's telling whoever the camera person is, he was like, my brother was standing right here. The LAPD came right here and was shooting at my brother, and he missed my brother. So he was talking about
him as an individual. Doesn't obligate him to want to discuss it on just because others have.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean he has.
No, you're right.
No.
You're right.
Yeah. The fact that he said hood business.
Nah,
what does that mean?
It mean a lot.
I'm trying to understand. A lot doesn't fill me in.
You mean I think Munchie's trying to say
saying that mean a lot. You don't you can't even knock Loose Cannon credibility for being from 60s. If you saying it mean a lot that he said hood business.
No, you said it meant a lot. I'm asking you.
No.
You said,
I said it's laughable.
And I said, what that mean? You said a lot. I didn't say nothing.
I just said it. If you can knock Loose Cannon credibility, same thing. They grew up in the same bedroom.
But that's all the more reason why he wise not to know what he should be discussing online.
He's not hood.
Regardless, so that's why he shouldn't be discussing hood business.
If Loose Cannon took his brother's approach,
he wouldn't have all these issues.
He wouldn't have all these issues.
Y'all saying different things what I'm saying.
You said it's laughable because he said it's hood business.
Coming from him.
He's wise to know he shouldn't be discussing nobody hood business.
It's laughable because it's coming from him.
It was wise from him, though.
I see what Munchie's saying is because it's.
I mean, he could act like he don't understand, but he understand.
The fact that I understand don't mean I agree.
Good one. You ain't gotta agree. That's what I'm saying.
I wasn't saying I wasn't looking for you to tell me I could agree.
I said that was a good one. You ain't gotta agree.
But
That's a good one.
here's my problem when you say something's hood business that has been publicized on such a magnitude, you almost can't say it's hood business anymore. Hood business is supposed to be stuff that we don't know and that people haven't really talked about publicly.
When you ask an individual to confirm something personally,
Yeah.
and he taps out off that, y'all could discuss it all y'all want. But for me, I'm gonna leave that where I leave it.
Yeah.
I think that was wise of him.
That's a wise thing to do. It's laughable coming from him saying hood business.
Hey,
You
I
keep
think
talking how laughable it is, and
Period.
you didn't laugh not once. But
I think you're attributing Loose Cannon's resume to his brother.
exactly,
Even though they're identical
exactly what's going
twins.
on.
Okay, you know when they say no credit the same as bad credit?
Yeah.
Like who is he to say hood business though?
Somebody wise enough to know he don't need to be discussing that shit online.
We saying two different things. We saying
You asked
it's
who he
wise
was.
not to discuss certain stuff on the
I think
internet.
it was. I think that's a
say
wise
it's laughable coming from him.
It was. You can laugh at wisdom all you want. Don't make it any less wise.
You think he got wisdom?
I think it was very wise of him not to.
You don't know him. What you mean?
how
Wisdom?
you know who I know?
Oh, you know him?
Man, he
Go
pulled
look
up.
on my platform and see if I know him.
He's pulled
I
up to
mean,
the
you
black.
know a nigga because you
block.
interview him.
All right.
You know him? I mean, shit. I don't know. What if he?
He made a wise decision. I believe he made a wise decision. How well do I have to know him to know he made a wise decision?
Okay. Spider say, "Oh boy, got wisdom" or some shit.
I say he made a wise decision.
You just said wisdom.
I said it was wise of him.
This shit recorded. You said wisdom.
I use wisdom because it is a derivative of the word wise, but I didn't say he had wisdom in per se. I said I think it was wise of him to make that decision.
You know what's crazy? I agree with both of y'all because
Cause you know them niggas is jokes.
he didn't want to speak on something.
I don't-
He didn't want to speak on something.
I'm talking to Alex. You know them niggas is
but
jokes.
Munchie is
I just don't think you get no point calling it a joke on the internet for what?
yeah, Munchie's just undermining his.
That's my opinion.
His gangster, I guess. That's what.
That's
he,
my
I don't understand
opinion.
why though, because what you don't know him either.
I can only go off what I hear on the internet.
But you just challenged if I knew him or not with a lot of authority.
I don't know the nigga.
So how you gonna speak on a nigga you don't even know?
Cause I heard clown shit from both of them,
Yeah,
and they stories
you
is
can't
blunt.
go. Well, we hear about
but-
each other all the time.
Not hear what they said.
all right. Before we move on,
All right.
Nah, for real. What? Niggas talking about they lived in the X-rays and they was out there. Niggas ain't got no history like that.
okay. Before we move on, I'm gonna give you an update on Jermaine Williams. I was surprised to find out he got arrested in Bakersfield in May of 2024 for a burner. He got caught, and he's currently in the custody of Kern County, fighting a gun case. And then I'd say June 17th, after he was in there for about 2 weeks, 2 warrants popped up that he had, and the warrants were for. He had count 1 is forgery. He had another count 2 for forgery, unauthorized use, identifying information of another, and then grand theft auto. So
Bail?
no bail, and the 2 warrants are out of Kern County. Doesn't say what county.
Grand Theft Auto.
But Kern County currently wants him for the gun case, but he's got those 4 other counts in another county on those 4 other charges, warrants for those 4 charges. So that's an update on Loose Cannon's brother, identical brother, twin brother. Yes, they're both the same age. He tried to say that remember when he's lying about his age. Loose Cannon said he's 30-something, but his twin brother's 40-something. How is that possible, man?
I guess he's saying they're not twins.
Yeah, he said that he's got another brother or something. But yeah, man, I didn't know.
He not smart enough to get his age right, cause then you was an exec way in 2006, and you ran the Spider back then and told him all this shit. Your story's not even matching up with your age.
Oh yeah, he said he produced a song for 50 Cent in 1996 when 50 Cent wasn't even out yet.
Crazy.
And in 96, he would have been like, he was born in 82, so he would have been 14 in 96, producing the music for an artist who wasn't even out. I believe he debuted in 99 with How to Rob. And
It makes no sense.
his timeline is always off. All right. I've never personally encountered a police officer that was slanging drugs in the streets. But I always hear these stories in almost every division in South LA and in every department in county sheriff. There's always that cop that does it. We heard it with Rafael Perez back in 98. Bro had 6 kilos of cocaine that he took out of the property room. We've always heard these stories, but hey, Munchie, this hits close to home for you because this officer was pulling people over in Inglewood, seizing their drugs, and then stealing drugs out of the property room, and then selling them to people on the streets. But dude made a mistake. He wasn't selling them to people on the streets. He was selling them to a CW that was tapped into the FBI. And let's play this clip.
At 5:30, a police officer finding himself on the other side of the law, sentenced to time in federal prison after pleading guilty to selling drugs.
Well, KCAL News assignment editor Mike Rogers at the desk. Mike, you told us when this officer was charged. How long will he spend behind bars?
So after he reached a plea agreement with the federal prosecutors, he will spend 2.5 years in federal prison on allegations that he was selling drugs while on the job. I actually want to come to my computer here because I'm going to show you the federal document where they talk about it. They said specifically there's CW, which was a confidential informant to the FBI, said that in 2020 the defendant said he had available for sale 1 kilo of cocaine that he was willing to sell to this guy. They also said he had 2 kilos of white China heroin and an unlimited supply of black tar heroin. Now, apparently, this officer told this informant that he and his team stole the drugs during a routine traffic stop and that the defendant made as a drug task force officer with the Inglewood Police Department. Now, we told you that they did reach a plea agreement, and today, the U.S. Attorney's Office saying that this former officer, now former officer, obviously, will serve 2.5 years behind bars in this federal sentence, guys.
All right, Mike, thank you.
All right, that's cool. Hey, can you imagine if you from the streets and you got, I don't know, you got a couple keys in the car, you got several $1,000s in the car, the cop pulls you over and says, I'm going to take all of this and let you go. You probably going to be like, okay, I'm cool with that because you either going to go to the penitentiary for 10, 15 years or take the L for 40, 50, 60,000. Which one you going to do? You're going to take the L, right?
It depends, right? Because you better hope nobody didn't front you that. Because who gonna believe the police took it and let you go?
That's true, too. You imagine someone coming to you, they got your work, Spider, and they come to say, hey, man, the police took my shit. They pulled me over and took my shit. You can be like, hell nah, I need my money.
Cold twist.
Yeah, if you're dealing with somebody that's dangerous and hands-on, then you in trouble. But then again, on the other side, then you like, whew, you know what I'm saying?
But there's certain people you would believe that from because your relationship and your closeness would never cross those lines. Like if Broke told you, hey, the police pulled me over, they went in my truck, took all the dope and let me leave, there's probably a few people you would believe that from.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Very few.
Well, the officer's name was John Abel Baca, B-A-C-A. He's 48 years old, out of Whittier. And he was a 21-year veteran of the IPD, slanging on the streets.
That's deep.
Man, so you doing 2.5, and then, they be getting that little 6 months before you even get that original release date. And so you go to a halfway house. And
I know a sheriff off the east side, he was a twin. And he's currently incarcerated in the federal system for getting down in a similar fashion. He the one told us, hey, see what's going on. Leave that boy alone. That's Sheriff Baca boy.
Oh, you think this guy's related to Baca?
No.
Oh.
Not in particular, but
'Cause he's got the same last name as Sheriff.
I noticed that.
Yeah.
That's what made me think what I just said.
You know what? That's interesting. I would have thought it might have came up in the story that
Yeah.
Baca's nephew or Lee Baca's cousin was charged with trafficking.
is this considered a common last name for Hispanics?
It's not as common, but
The fact that it pops up in law enforcement,
All right.
and the fact that a dirty police told us leave somebody alone because he Baca boy, and now this Baca is dirty, it might.
It's crazy. You know how much money he was selling that kilo for in Inglewood back in 2021?
Probably way too cheap.
It says here 22,000.
Oh no, that's probably about right, huh?
Yeah, but that was 22,000 from Fed, The feds actually bought the cocaine off of him.
With that Fed money, huh?
Yeah, with that Fed money. And then he's ordered to pay $40,000 in restitution. So any monies that he made slanging, he's going to have to pay it right back. Plus, he's got to sit in the penitentiary for 30 months.
But yeah, I mean, they hit him on this, but that don't mean he wouldn't have other people he was dumping shit to. He probably got dosed.
And we don't know how long he's got away with this.
21 years on the force. I know that's not a new idea, bro.
Yeah, this can't be your first rodeo, right? 21 years in and you start slanging?
Nah, by that time, no, you're too set in your ways one way or the other. You'll take another chance or you too against it to try it.
But here's one thing, though. He didn't throw any other officers under the bus. He took this case by himself. He obviously didn't admit to nothing else and is able to get away with doing 36, how many months?
They said 2.5
30
years.
months. 30 months.
You got a Crip Max sentence.
He got 30. And, it's, when he first got arrested, the media was like, he's facing 20 years in prison.
Same thing they said about Crip Max.
But I'm like, damn, this is more than, like, I feel when officers who take that oath and we have an expectation of them of integrity, morals, honesty, you got to do more than 30 months. You basically telling other cops, if you get caught, they going to slap you on the wrist. You're going to do a little bit of time, but you ain't going to get stretched out,
Police they always seem to get a slap on the wrist, regardless of what it is, bro.
Because imagine a kilo of cocaine. How many people got sentenced to 20 years for a bird or more in L.A.?
And the only reason has nothing to do with keeping our people healthy and off drugs is because of the finances we was fucking them over about. It's too fast a trip to them hundreds, thousands, to the millions. They had to do something about that.
But there's a guy in the streets of Inglewood that's working for the feds because when I read the indictment, it said that somebody informed the FBI that the Inglewood police officer Baca was dirty. So this didn't come from within the police department. It came from the streets. So someone from the streets informed the FBI, and they said, all right, are you willing to work with us so we can bring him down?
That still sounds like an official operation, right? But I think people lose sight of the fact that all law enforcement takes their uniforms off. They all fuck with females. They get drunk. They hit. They people.
Yeah.
So information travels when people are not out, and then it might turn into some official, but the initial person that told on them might have nothing to do with law enforcement, just misspeaking, talking too much.
And what's really an eye-opener to me is if he was on the force for 21 years and it took some confidential informant on the streets of Inglewood to bring him down, you mean to tell me the Inglewood PD did not know that you have officers out there selling cocaine? How do you keep that from the Inglewood PD? How do you keep that from the chiefs, the assistant chiefs, the sergeants, the lieutenants? That means that y'all is turning a blind eye to officers out there committing crimes.
That is definitely a possibility.
Because this wasn't an internal investigation from the IPD that brought him down. This was a street investigation linked up with the FBI that brought him down. IPD was not even a part of this.
Hey, I know for a fact, and I can name maybe 3 officers that dealt with the same females that a few of my homies done dealt with. He could have easily pissed one of them females off and they caught through a tip that way. No, for real.
But it says here at the bottom of the thing that the Inglewood Police Department provided its full cooperation during the investigation. So that means the FBI eventually said, hey, we got information on one of your folks. And, of course, they're going to be like, okay, well, what would you like to know?
So that means his colleagues perhaps more than likely watched him walk in and out of work for a while knowing they on your ass, boy. Regular day, hi, how you doing?
Yeah.
Donut, coffee, and he didn't have no idea.
I'm sure the FBI was only let certain, I'm sure the IPD was only on a need to know.
Correct.
Because they didn't want it to get out, hey, they on your ass,
Right.
and you about to get indicted as soon as you try to sell that bird. But it's crazy. I always wonder, like, how many more of these John Abel Bacas are out there right now?
And then when you talk about a bird, that more likely was a soft bird than a hard bird.
I believe it was a soft bird.
And them was hard birds people was getting all that time for more back in the day too.
And then he's telling his sources on the streets, look, I got black tar heroin, I got white China heroin. Bro, what did you have? A buffet of Schedule I drugs?
Probably, like you said, bump somebody up one time, and did a negotiation with him, like, and now that's probably his plug.
So someone snitched on him. Most likely someone from the street snitched on him. We'll never know the true nature of it unless John Abel Baca decides to come forward and say, John knows everybody that's involved in the case.
Right.
He knows who told on him. He knows he was selling to. But hey, man, it's going down in Inglewood. They cleaning up Inglewood for real, for real.
Hey, after we hop off,
Yeah.
I could show you the receipt that Red Harvey's indictment that they had did in Inglewood a week before they came and arrested everybody in 2018. A week before October 30th, a female told me what exactly was gonna happen, and it happened. Why? Because she was effing the IPD officer. And that's when I said that.
Oh, go ahead.
That's why I say, in this particular officer, I don't even know him by name, but I know other ones that mess with our females.
I remember when the Front Hood Comptons, they had went down a few years ago, and it was like a major thing. A couple of real popular cats that was out here. It was heavily reported that before they came and raided, it was a female about she was the head of the sheriff's department. I think she got caught on a wiretap, called and give him a heads up, like, hey, they on their way, baby. So the shit do exist. It be in the mix.
Yeah, man, you gotta be careful on these telephones. They listening. They listening.
Definitely.
They tapping in. They're hearing all our conversations. I don't know if this is. I've heard this rumor once that all our conversations get saved and dumped into a huge cloud for the powers that be to go back and listen.
I've heard similar things too.
Because it's impossible to listen to everybody in live time. So they save everyone's conversations and then go back and listen. I don't know how true that is. I haven't seen anything.
I didn't hear about the go back and listen part, but I heard it was possible.
Well, check this out. My T-Mobile only saves my bills for 24 months because they also have restrictions on saving. Saving costs money. Hard drives cost money. Putting all this data costs money. It comes out to millions of dollars for corporations. So there's no way I believe that, for example, T-Mobile or AT&T are just saving all our conversations in perpetuity because what's the purpose?
Right.
Now, is the government doing it some kind of way behind T-Mobile's back or behind AT&T's back? Or does AT&T say, look, we ain't saving the phone calls, but if you want to save the calls, feds, y'all save them, but we ain't going to save them. Because you can't get a bill that's older than 24 months. They purged the databases at some point.
Imagine the reasons a cat would be looking for a bill older than you. Be finding out some shit, bro. Why would you want a bill older than 24 months?
No, because I lost a number.
Call log.
And I was like,
okay. I knew it had to be a reason.
was like, it's in my bill. I knew it was May 2020. I called this person. You call and they like, nah, we only saved the last 24 months.
Have you ever tried to go to the digital version of because you can go on your own account and look at your own call history?
Well, if you log into your, let's say T-Mobile or AT&T, because I messed with both of them, you can only go back a certain amount of time.
Thing. Okay, I get it.
So this whole idea of saving phone calls permanently forever, it would cost millions and millions of dollars, and I don't think there's any value in 300 million Americans with cell phones and y'all saving all our conversations. It sounds crazy,
right?
But I don't know.
If you think about the way they're trying to build up the AI, if they're using the information for something like that, to have a totality of everybody's thoughts, information to go into the AI monster, that might make a little more sense.
Well, I do think that maybe the FBI has a list of gangsters that they want to monitor.
Definitely.
And they tell T-Mobile or AT&T or whoever, we want to save all of those conversations just for investigative purposes. There's no warrant. They can't pull it out in court, but they'll certainly find out what you're doing. And then when you're wondering, like, hey, why did police pop up at this meeting?
Right.
You'll
never know.
You'll never know, because there was no warrant issued for you for all this monitoring. And that was COINTELPRO. COINTELPRO in the 60s and 70s, there was no warrants. They were just monitoring people. I'm glad they got rid of that program in the 70s, but I'm sure they got a new version.
They do, because I've been notified in past tense that through. Well, they may have gotten a warrant though, so I don't know if they secured a warrant.
Yeah. If they notified you that your phone or you was on a call,
Tap call.
yeah, judge signed off on that and did it the legit way.
Yeah, if they send you that letter letting you know that they was listening, then they did it the real deal way.
Yeah, but if the U.S. government can go into Pakistan and kill Osama bin Laden without letting the Pakistani government know that this is what they wanted to do, and get there and do it, and piss off the Pakistani government, get in there and get out without a scratch, they're capable of all kind of monitoring. They tracked down, and Osama bin Laden didn't use cell phones, didn't have the internet. He had a nice villa that was off the grid, but somebody ratted him out. This is his location, and they went there and got his ass.
I wonder how much it was worth to him.
Hey, when that happened, there was someone on Twitter that lived in the same neighborhood as Osama bin Laden, and he tweeted, "There's a bunch of helicopters flying over me right now. I don't know what's going on." And live, he tweeted that.
Did you ever see the Joe Budden interview with the white dude who went and got the kill? One of the dudes.
I didn't watch it. No,
that's a good interview, bro. That dude it's intense just to hear his story, how graphic, the details, shit you wouldn't imagine to hear this dude telling his story, how they went in there. They even had a malfunction, like they didn't think they was gonna get out of there right. But that's a great listen, that interview.
And the technology that was available when Obama did that is there's a photo of Hillary Clinton and a whole bunch of people in the government. They're watching them do it live, and you see them in front of the screen, and you just see all this tension on there. They're watching them kill Osama bin Laden, like 10,000 miles away. This operation's going on, and they're watching it in live, in their offices.
I don't even know if stuff like that is done.
They got met too with resistance, going up a stairwell. Like his son came down with chopper. They had to knock some shit down. You got to watch that interview, bro. That's a hard ass interview.
And then they buried him in the sea.
Yeah.
They wrapped him up in some white cloth and buried him in the sea. But all right, man, we're going to wrap this up. That's another episode of Straight Politicking. Make sure you tap in with all our Instagrams. They're in the show notes below. And we out.